As long as we keep seeing the Boston Celtics in the NBA trade rumor mill, we're going to continue making videos about the latest Boston Celtics trade rumors. That's what we're going to talk about on today's show, as NBA insiders have come out with the latest details around Boston potentially making a trade for a center. Also, later on today, we are going to talk about Jayson Tatum and his potential return from the Achilles injury, and it could be coming very, very soon. All that in a moment, but first, I want to ask you guys, do you think the Celtics need to make a trade? Not should they make a trade, not will they make a trade. Do the Celtics need to make a trade in order to get over the hump and contend in the Eastern Conference this season? Why for yes and for no? You answer that question for me down in the comments section. As a target, a potential target, because nothing's set in stone yet, for the Boston Celtics is Ivica Zubac of the Los Angeles Clippers. With LA being near the bottom of the Western Conference at this point, no draft capital in their arsenal, they could be looking to move a guy like Zubac here to get some of that capital back. But Brian Windhorst answered a Celtics fans' question about a Zubac trade to Boston in a Q&A on Threads, and here's what he had to say. Well, Zubac is absolutely not available, and absolutely not a stretch big, because the person who asked the question was asking about Zubac and then any other stretch bigs that Boston could trade for. But yes, this is an area, being center, where Boston needs to replenish after losing Porzingis and Horford, and they will be looking for other opportunities. Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. Talk about Zubac first, because, yeah, of course, LA would not be wanting to trade an ascending 28-year-old center who is one of the league's elite rebounders and shot blockers at this point. But, like I said, they're at the bottom of the Western Conference. They have no draft capital. I mean, their first-round pick goes to Oklahoma City next year, for God's sakes. So they need some sort of collection for their future, or else they will not have any future. So reports have come out that Los Angeles is potentially looking at moving Zubac if the right price comes along, and that price reportedly or rumored to be right now is 2 first-round picks. Now, would the Boston Celtics make a move for 2 first-round picks for Zoo? I'm not so sure. Brian Robb had this to say on the whole situation. The Zubac suggestion is a popular one I've gotten in a lot of recent weeks. It depends a lot on the direction that the Clippers take with their core. Zubac is on a good cost-controlled contract, so it's hard to see the Clippers moving him now unless they are blowing things up entirely at the trade deadline, which is possible given how bad they look. Even then, 2 first-round picks for Zubac would be a steep price to pay, since it would essentially lock Boston in for the future with that core. I'm not sure Brad Stevens would like Zubac enough to do that and take away their flexibility. However, a case can certainly be made to go after a center now as opposed to waiting until the offseason. Ultimately, I think the Celtics are probably looking at minimum level type options for this season if they don't get a guy like Zubac. Well, for Rob saying that he's not sure if Brad Stevens would want to trade 2 first-round picks for a guy like Zubac, like, where is Brad expecting these first-round picks to land in the draft? Like, if they're going to be something post 25th in the draft, then why wouldn't you give up 2 firsts for one of the best centers in the league? And to be locked into that core, I mean, I wouldn't be upset if the core was Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and Zubac, and then all the other minimum and young pieces around them complimentary. Like, this is one of the best centers in the league. A true 7-footer. Does he space the floor? No, not at all. But he would help Neemias Queta move to the bench a little bit, have a bona fide starting center for the next 3-4 seasons, and you don't have to worry about that position anymore. This is a guy who doesn't get hurt. Like, he's been getting better every year of his career. Again, he's on the Jays timeline at 28 years old. What's the downside in sending Anthony Simons to 2 first-round picks for Ivica Zubac? I don't see there being many of them. Should the Celtics trade for Zubac? Let me know down in the comments right now. T for trade, P for pass. Is this a guy that you guys are wanting to come to Boston, like that person who asked Brian Windhorst about it? Let me know what your thoughts are down below. If that's not your cup of tea and you're not going for Zubac personally, maybe there's other big trade targets. A little double entendre there. Big names at the big man spot. Nic Claxton of the Brooklyn Nets. We'll talk more about the Nets in a moment. But I like Claxton. Makes about $25 million a year. Do I want to trade him for that price? I'm not so sure. Jaren Jackson Jr., I mean, he makes a little bit more than that, and he doesn't rebound the basketball. Memphis, they're bad, and they could blow things up with Ja and Triple J, maybe not being the duo that they had hoped for, but I'm not so sure that Boston would benefit much from a Jaren Jackson Jr. addition. And then Myles Turner, last one here. There was nothing concrete about a potential rumor there, but with Giannis being in the position that he is in right now, potentially moving on from the Milwaukee Bucks in the coming months, well, then they need to be thinking about full fire sales, because if you're moving Giannis, you're not going to be competitive. So how about move one of the competitive players you have on your roster in Myles Turner, another guy who's on a respectable $25 million contract who the Celtics could make a deal for. However, back to Brian Robb's point, I think the Celtics are going to be looking for a little bit of a cheaper option. And my number one target, making $6.25 million this season, is Jaren Sharpe. As a matter of fact, bear with me for a moment because I'm going to pull out my phone and see exactly what he did in his game against the Milwaukee Bucks. Well, the Brooklyn Nets won by 40 on Sunday. This is what Jaren Sharpe did. He had the highest game score on the Real app. In 17 minutes, he had 10 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals. 4 of 6 from the field. He is a per 36 demon. He's a per 100 possessions demon. This is a guy who just needs more opportunity. And Boston was willing to give him a shot to be their starting center this offseason. I think they could get a trade done, sending Anthony Simons to the Brooklyn Nets, clearing up a bunch of money, and bringing in their potential starting center of the future in Jaren Sharpe. And next up, we're going to get into that Tatum injury update. Yes, there are reports coming out that he could be back in the next month, but there are still a couple of hurdles that we need to cross in order to get there. We'll talk about that around the corner. First, I got to tell you guys about our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. With the holiday season, folks, it is the craziest time of year with bowl games, basketball matchups, and playoff pushes all happening at once. And with you and I making decisions every single day on what gifts to buy, what to eat, which games to watch, there's one place where being right on those decisions can get you paid, and that is Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy sports app in the game. Look how aesthetically pleasing this app is. It's even easier to use. All you guys got to do is pick a lineup of 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less on their projected stats. Whether it's basketball, football, college sports, you can mix and match all these different options on Prize Picks. And they have so many stat projections to choose from. It takes less than 60 seconds to create a lineup. And Prize Picks offers the best features in the game as well, like stacks. So if you want to take multiple stat projections from the same player and put it in the same lineup, you can do so on Prize Picks. Also, they're offering an early payout feature as well. So if you're feeling confident about your picks, they're looking good, but not confident enough to see it all the way through, Prize Picks might just offer you an early payout. And new users, you're getting hooked up. If you download the app today and use that code that you see in the bottom right of your screen, CLNS, you get $50 in lineups instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. So our biggest question, the remainder of this season. Can Jayson Tatum and will Jayson Tatum return? Suffered a torn Achilles in May. I thought it was going to be a full year at minimum. But the way that this guy has attacked the rehab and recovery process from this major, what many people consider a career-altering injury, has been remarkable. He has inspired countless people in that Celtics organization, from the top all the way to his teammates that are out there on the floor with him. Everybody is revitalized by the way that Tatum has been attacking this recovery, and it looks like there's a chance he could be coming back this season. But let's pump the brakes a little bit first. Adam Himmelsbach, a big-time Celtics insider from the Boston Globe, saying the following. Within the organization, Tatum continues to indicate that he would like to return this season. It probably falls somewhere between possible and likely. But a league source stressed that the team remains several steps away from even considering the decision. My question next is, how long to complete those steps? Because yes, you could be several steps away, but if those several steps only take, a month and a half or so to complete, then yeah, he could be back before or around the trade deadline when the Celtics are looking at themselves saying, hey, if we get JT back out there on the court, we might be able to go win the Eastern Conference. So, yeah, I know that they're absolutely looking at this possibility, and they're trying to get it done as quickly as possible because the quicker Jayson Tatum gets out there on the court, the better, not only for the Celtics, but for him as well. Kevin Stone, who is a big-time Achilles specialist, he had a lot to say on Tatum potentially coming back and playing in the postseason when things get turned up to about 110%. And if anybody's worried about him putting extra stress on his body in those situations, just read this quote. It says it really depends on him, the training, the fitness, the testing, the MRI that will reveal even more when the next time he gets one about this Achilles. A whole host of factors would go into it. In general, if the tendon's well healed on fitness testing and MRI, there's no reason why he can't return fully. More so than the physical stuff that Tatum's been overcoming over the last few months. Dr. Stone said that the biggest hurdle is the mental one for Jayson Tatum. Like going out there and thinking to yourself, oh, do I have to protect my Achilles? Can I take as quick of a first step here? Can I take as big of a leap or as big of a jump as I'm trying to? As big of a shot contest as I can to try to protect this tendon in my foot? Like, that's the stuff that Jayson Tatum has to kind of get out of the back of his mind in order to just play freely and probably lower the re-aggravation risk of this injury. Like if you're overthinking about it too much, it's probably more likely that you actually put more stress on the Achilles and end up re-injuring yourself. And nobody wants that for Jayson Tatum. Now, there could be a hiccup in this whole scenario to where the Celtics, go a 2-week stretch where they lose 8 of 9 games, and they're not looking like the contender, and they're not looking like a top 6 seed in the Eastern Conference, and it wouldn't make sense for Jayson Tatum to come back and play this season. But I would pump the brakes on that a little bit, because even if the Celtics aren't, in the best position in the Eastern Conference standings when JT is 100% and physically able to return, I still think it would make sense to put him out there this season to get his legs back under him. And this is what Stone had to say about it. No. The longer that you're out, if Tatum's better out, he's asking, the question is if Tatum is better off waiting till next season to come back from this injury. He says no. The longer you're out, the harder it is to come back. And that's pretty much true in every sport. But it's especially true after a significant injury because it takes that injury fear pattern and stretches it out. So Tatum is going to be in the mental pretzel of an entire offseason of worrying about this thing and saying, wow, I haven't played basketball in a year and a half. Like contact basketball on an NBA court in a year and a half. That absolutely would take a toll on you. However, I don't think it's going to be the case. I don't think they're going to wait all the way until next season to get this thing done because Kevin Stone says it's definitely realistic when talking about him coming back in January. So if that's the case, if definitely realistic is the case in January, then there's no reason that Tatum can't play the entire month of March, right? Like, that would be giving him an extra 2 months of recovery process here. It seems to me like we're going to see a Jayson Tatum return at some point this season. I just hope that the Celtics are above water enough to see it through and see the impact that it can make on a potential championship run. With that being said, if you want Jayson Tatum to make that return this season, prove it to me. Go down below, like today's video. If you made it to the end of today's show, you're an absolute sicko, and I love you. So go down below, hit the like button if you want to see Jayson Tatum make his much anticipated return this season. That will do it for today's show. Give me a follow over on Twitter because we keep talking Celtics all season long. They're my life, man. At Tyler J. Smith. 2 H's because the name's common, but I am not. Make sure to subscribe to the channel as well. YouTube.com/CelticsTV for the latest and greatest on your C's all season long. We'll see you guys next video. And as always, let's go, C's.